Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Shooting the with Yankee. As always, I'm Yankee, so let's start shooting. Today, I want to hear the opinion of the little gun community we got going here. I want to know what you think about mental health and medications for mental health and gun ownership. Do they mix? Do you think people that are diagnosed with a mental health condition or at least being treated for a mental health condition with medication, should they be prohibited from owning firearms? A lot of people seem to think that. So I want to see what you all think. Now, I will start us off since most people have already weighed in here. And I will say that being diagnosed with a mental illness or being treated with medications for a mental illness should not be something that keeps you from owning a firearm. Especially most mental illnesses, 95% of the people at least that are diagnosed with a mental illness are no threat to anyone. And the majority of the ones that are a threat to someone are just a threat to themselves. It's just a small number of people with mental health issues that are actually dangerous to other people. And in those cases, what we should be doing is instead of taking away their gun rights, they should be receiving proper treatment. Now, people that are just on medication, kids that are on mood stabilizers, etc., no, there is not enough evidence that would show that they're a danger to anyone. Now, a lot of people be like, oh, the reason all these kids are autistic or the reason suicides are so high is because of all these meds. Well, the only thing wrong with that is suicides aren't real high in teenagers, and that none of it's based in any kind of fact that they're doing anything because of that, or that, oh, it's because so much kids have autism. There's no real rise in true autism cases. The only rise in cases occurred several years ago, mainly because they lumped a bunch of things together under one umbrella. It used to be if you had 10 kids out of 100 that were afflicted with something, they would each have a different diagnosis with a different condition. So that was 10 different diagnoses, 10 different conditions out of 100. So each one of those diagnoses was 1 out of 100. Well, now they've taken all 10 of them, lumped them under autism. So now it's 10 out of 100 have autism. When it used to be just 1 out of the 100 had autism and the other 9 had a different diagnosis for something similar. And that's really the only rise in autism. RFK Jr. is fucking dumb as a rock. I hate to break it to you. He doesn't have any expertise in psychology or mental health or any of those things, and it shows. He repeats bullshit statistics. According to him, half of China has diabetes, and that 1 in every 3 kids has diabetes. That's not true. It's like 3% of kids have diabetes. It's like 6% of people in China have diabetes if you count the elderly people. He's so far off in all of his numbers, he doesn't know what he's talking about. But as I was saying, mental people diagnosed with mental health conditions are generally no threat to anyone, and when they are, it's usually just themselves. And I do not see that as a reason to strip their rights away. And if they are a danger to others and themselves, well, then we should have a proper system set in place to care for them. Now, I am not someone who's bleeding hard on this. There are some people I think are just broken and will never be fixed, and I think they've shown that through their actions. If someone has shown a history of violence, they're extremely mentally ill, and the only thing that prevents them from, going on a murdering spree tomorrow because their dog told them to is the 30 medications they have to remember to take every day, well, that person might be in extreme danger, and they should never have been out of prison. But generally, it's just a big bunch of nothing over nothing. So that's my opinion on it. But let's go over and see what other people got to say. Hey, everybody, just going to interrupt myself here real quick and remind everybody that if you want to get into the cold steel knife giveaway while helping save a pet in need, go on over to TYMPpistolproject.com. There's a link in the upper corner, and become a Patreon supporter and get registered to win one of the knives. All the details are over there. And also, while you're over there, if you want to get registered to win the one-of-a-kind Marvin the Martian 1022 custom painted stock, you can do that while you're there also. Now, back to the entertainment. We got, I think, a real doctor weighing in at one point here. So let's go look and see what we got. I am not a doctor. I was not a psychiatrist. Someone the other day said, you were a psychiatrist. No, I was not. I never went to medical school. I was a psychologist. There's a difference. We do therapy and things, but we don't give medications. That's psychiatrists that can give medications. Edgar Cortez says, Impatient with either alcohol or drugs and guns do not mix insofar as mental health issues. It depends on whether the mental problem is. If the person is detached from reality, he should not be carrying a gun. Well, I mean, are they violent though? A lot of people have minor detachments from reality that doesn't make them violent. But I mean, if they're like psychotic, well, then yeah. Well, but I think psychotic people we shouldn't have a law that says, hey, people that are like schizophrenic, that's not enough reason to take someone's rights away. If they're psychotic with tendencies of violence, well, then they should be in a proper treatment program. And you shouldn't have to say, well, we take their gun rights away, because that's just so that you can throw them back out on the street. That's why they do that shit. That's one of the reasons they let all the people, criminals and people that are severely handicapped, that are violent, back out on the street, so that they can have an excuse to say, well, see, we got to take some people's guns away. And I don't like that. Practical Bacon says case by case basis, too broad a topic to say yes or no. I think it is not too broad a topic, because if you start saying you can deny gun rights to someone because they have a mental health condition, well, what about people who have terminal conditions where they might decide, I'm going out in a blaze of glory? No, we should instate proper treatment for the people that are more severe, and there should be places for them to go and be treated, not take rights away instead of treatment, which is, like I say, what they always do. Officer Tater Hater says, if you're not under the influence, I don't see the problem. Then again, I never tell the gun store the military diagnosed me with paranoid delusions, which is also why I don't trust authority. Ex-cops. Example, cops. Being diagnosed with something in the military is kind of like, having a fortune teller tell you what career path you should take. I don't know if it's real reliable. I never met a lot of good psychologists in the military. Boom, boom, boom. But yeah. And plus, people that are just on medications for mild conditions, there's no real evidence they're any threat to anybody. And when they are, it's usually themselves. There's the rare case where they are dangerous and they do heinous things. But there's also people that are not mentally ill at all that do heinous things every day. They do it for money, or they do it for power, or whatever. So mental illness does not hold a stranglehold on poor behavior. Let's just say that. Skip Doe says Trump is on the list. Let's pray for him. I don't know which list he means. Like the reservation list at Denny's, or what do you mean? I don't think he'd go to Denny's. He's more of a McDonald's guy, I do believe. Mad Dog, know the risk we take for freedom. Drugs, alcohol, just like driving. Don't do it. It is very dumb. Where is my shirt design? I will buy one, I promise. Well, I ain't had time to draw one lately. I'll try. It takes me a while to get around to drawing something, because I got to be in the mood to create something. You know what I mean? Which I usually ain't. You don't turn it on and off like a faucet. But yeah, it's kind of like, but of course, most people that are on meds don't get to decide when they're taking their meds. But a lot of meds that would make average people loopy, they don't do that to the people that are taking them for a severe condition. It just makes them more balanced, so they can operate fully under the influence of those drugs that might make other people's judgment weird, or make them hyper, or something else will not have that effect on these people. So we have to take that into account. Chunky D77, I don't think meds should prevent you from owning guns. Well, no, because what other kind of meds will they start saying then? What about people that are on hormone replacement? Them women are crazy. Those women that are on that estrogen replacement, they're usually insane. You ever dealt with any of them? My mom had a hysterectomy. Oh my God. My sister, they're nuts. That's Chunky D there. Mikey D says, if they have been deemed with certain conditions, yes, prohibit. I know people I wouldn't trust with a potato gun. Most shootings are mental health. I wouldn't say most shootings are mental health. That's not true at all. Most shootings are interpersonal conflict related or gang related or crime related. And that doesn't equate to mental health. Someone shoots their cheating boyfriend. That doesn't mean they were mentally ill. Someone shoots their wife so that they can go be with their mistress. That doesn't mean they're mentally ill. That just means that they're probably an asshole. But yeah, I don't like the whole any saying that, because, well, we'll include this one, and this one, because eventually they go, and this one, and this diagnosis, and that diagnosis. Just if people are dangerous, provide them with care until they've proven that they are not fixable, and then lock them up in a institution. That's why we used to have institutions. But Reagan got rid of them. And one of the reasons they want to do that is so that they could flood. And this is backed up in many, many documents. Heritage Foundation type people and everything else. They felt that if they released the more dangerous people back onto the streets, they would have a stranglehold over the populace and be able to use fear to manipulate them. Let's see here. Sean Bain says, don't know enough about this issue to comment. When's that ever stopped anybody here or me before? That talk about taking the fun out of things. If you got to know about it, talk about it. We won't have nothing to talk about. Vidal Travis says, if you are not in jail or a mental institution, you should be able to bear arms. Yep, same thing I feel like with crime. If you're not in prison, you should have your gun rights. Mr. Furley, mental conditions alone shouldn't stop you case by case. Well, I see, that's the thing I don't agree with, the case by case thing. If a doctor finds, hey, this guy is not safe to be on the street, well, then you don't say, well, let's start removing rights from people. You say, well, then we have to have institutions in place that this person can be involuntarily committed and can be treated. And if he has any next of kin or whatever, they should be notified and have a say in his treatment, etc. But we don't start taking rights away for things like that. Ma'ams, and don't think I'm picking on anybody who says that, because that's what I assume most people would say, case by case. And so I'd get to say, that's not how we deal with the cases when there are cases. So I can point out the whole fact that America has too big a habit of saying, this is inconvenient, let's take their rights away instead of actually dealing with it. This is inconvenient and not profitable to take care of, so let's just take their rights away instead of dealing with it. That's kind of the whole point of this. So I'm glad some people are saying case by case, because that's kind of what I expected. Where was I? Who am I here? Mr. Furley, is that where am I at? No, where am I? Did I read? Yes, okay. Ma'ams, that's where I am. Restrict if person on certain meds like lithium. Well, why? And what meds? Do we start taking away guns from people? Anyone that's on any med that can impair your judgment? You know what really impairs your judgment? Alcohol. So if someone drinks, should they not be allowed to own a gun? Slippery slope, kind of. Ken Mowry said, gun laws do not stop crimes. Why don't fentanyl laws stop fentanyl deaths? One of the most outlawed drugs and is a large issue. Well, yeah, because, there's always some people out there that are chasing the next high. There's some people that are trying to kill a lot of pain, emotional, physical, etc., and they're willing to take these meds to do it. And a lot of people use these meds, marijuana is included, even though it's not as dangerous a medication. They use these things to self-diagnose and self-treat because they don't have access to mental health care. And they have severe anxiety, or they have another mental health issue. So they take things to like silence the voices or treat their anxiety, or so that they don't feel like they're crawling out of their skin, and they self-diagnose, they self-treat, and it gets out of hand because it's not being monitored and controlled by a professional. So that's one of the bad things about it. A lot of people in this country self-medicate because they don't have the means to seek adequate care. Heavy J, he says, definitely case by case, But I do not like anything that allows governments to have any say in how Americans live. And I don't like big pharma. I don't like big pharma either. Big pharma. I never thought healthcare should be for profit, really. I mean, you should be able to make enough money so that people work in healthcare make good livings, nurses, doctors, etc. But there shouldn't be 6 super wealthy families bringing in billions of dollars for caring for sick people. John and Mandrick says a tough one, unless it's something that prohibits them from exercising another right. If they are too dangerous for a gun, they should not be out free. Exactly. If they're that dangerous, there should be a mental health care system in place to deal with these people. You don't get to start taking away rights. We got one more person weighing in, and it's the same person that just weighed in, but they weighed in again. So let's read that, and we will be done with this segment of the show. John M. Mandrick weighed in again and says, taking away 2A rights won't stop them from getting a gun, like it doesn't stop others who aren't allowed to have guns. And if they are really intent on causing harm to other people, well, how's a gun going to not getting a gun going to stop them? We've all seen how easy it is to run over a bunch of people. So, yeah, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But that's it for us today. I want to thank everybody who weighed in. I appreciate, and like I said, I wasn't picking on anybody. I was hoping some people would say some of the things I kind of got on, because I think it's so easy in this country for people to say, well, it's like when I say that all people should be able to buy guns, even ex-cons and felons, etc. If they're free, people go, well, because the prison system is the way it is, we can't. I'm like, you don't use one wrong to validate another wrong. You fix the first wrong and don't get engaged in a second one. So you fix the prison system. You don't take people's rights away, because like I said, it's been well documented throughout history that certain groups have wanted to do that. They've wanted to make streets less safe. They want there to be the impression that there's more crime, even though there's less now, because it makes it easier to control people. And it makes it easy to say things like, well, of course you agree that felons shouldn't be allowed to own guns. And of course you agree that mentally ill people shouldn't be allowed to own guns, things like that. That's how they get us. But thanks everybody for weighing in. Like I said, how about you out in YouTube land? What do you think? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you want to come in and weigh in on one of these topics in person, come to our live chats. We do them every day at 6 p.m. I hope to see you at one soon. Until tomorrow, I just want to remind everyone out there to always carry and stay safe until I see you again. Hey everybody, Yankee here. Before we go, I just want to take a second to remind everyone that this channel is 100% viewer funded. We don't take a penny from advertisers, retailers. We don't take money from political organizations. There's no one telling me what I need to tell you. Everything that we do is done through the generosity of our viewers, either buying merchandise or becoming a patron or a Subscribe Star member. You're all the ones that support Pets and Vets and TYMP. And that's the reason I can stay true to myself and loyal only to the people who watch my channel. And I can spend my time talking about what I want to talk about, telling what I think needs to be said, and giving you my uncensored take on things I think you need to hear. So if you'd like to help keep things that way, please support the channel by becoming a patron, a Subscribe Star supporter, or just going over to my web store and buying some merch. The links are all in the upper corner of this video.